Welcome to another episode of You Bijou, where we use the Zentangle method to perhaps connect with our highest self, to discover some new ways to engage with our soul space and our heart space, and to perhaps even discover and uncover some patterns that perhaps aren't serving us. I have found this method to be a beautiful way to remind me that the process can be a beautiful thing and that it doesn't always have to be about the outcome. That being present in this moment can have a really profound effect on your life and how you navigate that. So I'm going to invite you to take a moment and take a breath, inhaling through the nose. Exhale, open mouth, side out. And do this as many times as you feel would be helpful for you. I have my feet on the floor. My hands are palm facing down today on my knees. I'm feeling a need for more grounding today. And now I'm inviting a connection with my highest self. I'm asking my ego to step aside. I'm connecting with my heart space, my soul space, asking for guidance from divine, and connecting with my highest self. I'm feeling called to place my hands at heart center and bringing in any intentions that you might have for today, and reminding yourself that this is a practice. This is not about perfection. This is about a process, a discovering and uncovering of what this practice will look like as it becomes your practice. I find that in all the things that I do, that when it becomes my practice, meaning when I allow myself to drop into what feels most comfortable for me, for my best and highest self, knowing it's coming from that heart space, that things move into flow state and I stop resisting things so much. So I invite you to play with that as we play with this tile today. So we have a Bijou tile and my Micron 01 as usual, and my pencil and my tortillon. I'm going to start, I really just kind of did the gratitude and appreciation thing with that little meditation that we did. For me, I am grateful that I am discovering new ways to be in flow on the regular, and that I have this time to nurture myself today. So I'm going to start with corner dots with my pencil. And you'll notice that I turn my tile quite a bit when I do this. And then once I draw my corner dots, I'm going to draw a border with that pencil. Just connecting these dots, not really worried too terribly much about if my line is straight. In fact, if you feel like making a curvy line, you absolutely can. I'm just creating a border to give us a structure to hang on to. Sometimes I think of borders as I'm doing this Zentangle method as boundaries. This is my choice, my decision to stay within this boundary of these corner dots in this border that I created. And then the next step is to draw a string to divide the tile up. And today we are going to draw a tangle called striping. So because we're doing mono tangles on this tile, I want this string that we're going to draw to divide the tile into quite a few spaces and maybe in a fun and playful way. So I think I'm going to do some loop-de-loops today. I'm going to kind of navigate my way around the tile in a way that invites some loops. Yours does not have to look exactly like that. Just any sort of a design or flow of your pencil that divides the tile up into smaller spaces. Then I'm going to set my pencil aside. I'm going to grab my pen and we will begin. And so every one of these little spaces here is going to be a separate section that we are going to tangle. So I think I'm going to start in this corner here. And I am actually going to go a little bit at an angle. And we're going to draw. I prefer to draw toward myself, I'm realizing. So I'm going to draw these a little bit curved stripes. and then color them in. So this is going to take some time. You can make your stripes wider if you prefer, or narrower if you prefer. And I purposefully do not fast forward these videos so that you can tangle with me in real time if that calls to you. I encourage you to, as I spoke about last time, really make your space cozy and comfortable and peaceful. If you want to play some music, you could play some music. If you want to maybe, light a candle or burn some incense, whatever feels comfortable and safe for you. And making sure that you're comfortable in your chair, reminding yourself not to grip your pen too tightly, and remembering to breathe. And when I very first get started, it seems like that's when I have this tendency to have some tension in my body. So I bring in some mindfulness around releasing that, connecting with my breath, reminding myself not to grip my pen too tightly. And you can see all of these arcs are curving in the same direction in this space. Taking my time to fill in these stripes that we're creating. I encourage you to visit Zentangle.com and learn more about the method if you have not already done that. Learn about Rick and Maria's story. Today, I'm going to do more tangling and less talking. So we did this section with the arcs going that way. I turned my tile, and now I want the arcs to go this way. And you don't have to line them up if you don't want to. You could, if you want to line up the stripes, you absolutely can. My goal is to make sure that since these curves went this way, I want the curves in this next section to go that way, and then we'll go every other all the way through the tile. And there might be some where we need to get creative and clever, and we will cross that bridge when we get there. So turning my tile, this time the arcs will go this way. For some reason, that first stripe for me feels more comfortable if I draw it right side up and then I turn my tile. As you're tangling, notice if you have a tendency to slip into that state of judgment or impatience or maybe a wanting more control. And just notice. We're not looking to necessarily even change anything. We're simply noticing. Just going to fill that little corner there. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, then we're going to go to this one, turn it this way, start my stripe. And I will be the first to admit that when I first started tangling, these tangles that had like a lot to color in, I found tedious until I realized that I actually really enjoy the feel of the ink slurping into the paper, into the tile. And I really enjoy witnessing the unfolding of how it changes as we go through the tile. And you'll see what I mean as we get moving through the tile, and then we come to shading. I mean, everything looks different with each step. And so I've learned or decided or uncovered the fact that I actually really do enjoy the process, and that when I take my time to fill in these spaces, there's actually, because I don't have to think too terribly much, that's sometimes when I get my downloads, like my aha moments, or sometimes I tangle when I have a lot of things happening in my life that feel unsettling. And this is a way for me to get answers with clarity rather than in the swirl of whatever it is I'm finding challenging. So just inviting you to consider that possibility if you're finding yourself getting impatient or not feeling like you want to color things in, or any of that. I think I'm gonna go here. And so as we do this You Bijou series, every time it will be a monotangle, meaning there's one tangle per tile, because I think, well, first of all, that helps get comfortable with the tangles. It makes it less complicated. And then it shows you ways you can get clever and creative in and confident in shading and highlighting if you choose to have that be part of your practice. And then just it's a matter of time. To do a full tile just takes a lot more time. And the idea is that you can carve out time every day or anytime you are called, maybe several times a day, to come to this video series and be you bijou in any given moment when you just are feeling called to tap into your creative side or to find some calm. Okay, so that's that way. I'm just gonna keep going around the outside, and I'm gonna decide what to do with that middle part when we get there. Let's see, I went that way, so now I'm gonna go this way. I'm gonna leave that alone there. Then we're gonna go this way. I'm gonna come up this way for this section. Another thing to note, if you're not familiar with using these Micron 01s, is a gentle touch or the nib will get bent. So to remind yourself to go a little light with the touch. Okay, so that's that way. I'm gonna do this little section next. Maybe there's another stripe there that comes down here. I'll just share with you in real time what's coming in for me. It's part of the practice. I feel like me sharing that bit with you, albeit a little vulnerable, might be helpful to someone. As I'm filling in this stripe, I'm having this reminder to myself about managing my expectations, specifically of myself, and reminding myself to give myself grace. That sometimes I have this tendency, it's almost like my spirit guides are saying, sometimes you're really hard on yourself, and we see things that, you know, within you that you sometimes forget to see in yourself, and we want you to know you are loved and you are supported and you are not alone, and you're very hard on yourself sometimes. I guess that's just what I keep hearing, and it's like this reminder to myself to, you know, lighten up and loosen up a little bit with myself, to not be quite so demanding of myself. So I'm playing with this tile now as far as which direction to go. I almost feel like I want these loops to curve like around like this. I know this one already is going that way, but I'm feeling like we're going to go that same way. The other option would be to go from here. Maybe I'll actually, as I'm saying that, I'm changing my mind. I'm going to go this way and down. So just a reminder to myself to stay diligent in goals and ambitions. Like, it's not about getting rid of, you know, there's a difference between expectations and goals, I guess. And just a reminder to myself that things are happening in divine timing, and I get to be an active participant in that. And it will also require patience, and it doesn't always unfold the way you think it will or the way you want it to. And that's an important and beautiful reminder for me today. So if you have any reminders for yourself, you know, I'd love to hear them in the comments if you're willing to share them, or just know that you can be open to receiving those downloads in a kind and loving way as we tangle, and sometimes getting that hit or that download, that you know, that aha moment while we're in the process of creation can be a softer, gentler way to deliver a message that's in absolute love and kindness. Okay, that feels cool. And I feel like I can tell that that's a separate section. This guy right here, let's see, those are both going that way. I feel like coming from this way makes some sense. It just feels like that's the way we're going to go. So I'm going to do it, and we'll see. It doesn't have to all be exact or precise. And then when we start shading, that's when things start getting, they change a lot, and it will be magical. Okay. So now I can put my pen down and grab my pencil. And I think I'm also going to grab a chalk pencil that we may or may not use. Okay, so I did grab a General's chalk pencil as well, just in case we want to really play with the highlights on this. So I'm going to start the same place that I started with the striping. And I'm going to actually use my pencil only on the white parts, the parts I didn't color in, because otherwise it can get kind of shiny. So I'm just thickening that line and then using my tortillon to pull in toward the center, but not all the way. I want to leave a line that is unshaded down the middle. This is like a highlight. At the bottom, I'm okay with it being more V-shaped, but I'm really looking to leave a little bit of a gap there in the middle. Can you see that? Sometimes I have to, there. See the highlight there? And I'll show you with the white chalk in this one, and then you can decide if that's something that you want to play with or not. I'll probably do the chalk all at the end because the chalk can get messy, but I do want to show you on this one what that might look like. So just from that corner, putting that highlight there. Now, sometimes I have a tortillon, but I actually prefer with the chalk to use my finger, and that might get a little messy, but that's okay. I will grab a tortillon. So I always use my tortillons at an angle. I don't use them at the tip, and I use a different one for the white chalk versus the graphite. Okay, so I have that section. I'm just going to move around the tile like I did when we tangled. And again, I'm going to leave the black part I'm not going to use the graphite there. And I want it darker at the edges than toward the middle. So I kind of like push it into the tile there and then just kind of feather it into the middle so you can see the difference between using the white chalk and not. So I'm going to keep going with just the graphite right now, and then we can decide when we get toward the end what that might look like with or without the chalk. And continuing around the tile. This one's kind of an odd shape, but I'm just sticking with my plan of going to the edges and leaving a highlight that sort of follows itself. This tangle definitely gets more exciting for me as we shade it. I find the shading to be magical with the striping. I think it looks really cool and very much changes it and makes me feel more artistic than usual simply because things start looking 3D, and that's not something that comes easily for me in, like, quote unquote the real art world. But I don't mean to imply that this is not art. It absolutely is. And you are an artist. And the cool thing about this is that everyone can do it. And pretty quickly. You know, you can build this practice pretty quickly and have a lot of joy and success in just the process building an outcome that is aesthetically pleasing, I guess. And it really is about the process, and the outcome is not the priority. And I'm always surprised at how the outcome makes me feel, even when my intention was like, I didn't have an attachment to the outcome at all. And then when I get to the point where I'm done with the tangling and into the shading, and then when I get completely finished with the tile, I'm always in awe of what came down on the page or what came down on the tile, and how that makes me feel. Because not only did I enjoy the process, but then I also am enjoying the outcome. And truth be told, not every single time. There are times where I tangle and it's just about the tangling and I get done, and sometimes it doesn't really do a whole lot for me. But if I'm being honest, I think sometimes that happens because it was more about me moving energy and stress than it was about the tangling. And so my state started in maybe a little more harsh place. And so then it's harder for me to get to, the joy space at the end of it. It's almost like I put all my aggression or my frustration into the tile, and then when I'm done with it, I'm like, okay, well, that feels better, but I don't care if I see that tile again, because I attach it or connect it to those kind of more negative or more challenging, I guess I should say, maybe emotions. So I find the process to be really interesting. It shows me a lot about my current state on any given day, and just like how I navigate my stress and things that challenge me. So I'm really digging this today. I can see it transforming, and I'm finding that really cool. And to be honest, I haven't decided if I love this highlight over here, and I'm going to do it on the whole tile just so you all can see it, and then you can decide if you want that on your tile or if you want to leave it alone with just the graphite, or maybe you're a person who doesn't even want to deal with shading at all, and that is absolutely okay. For me, this is a tangle that I really love the shading. It makes me happy. Those two are separate, but they almost like go together, and that's also kind of fun. Okay, I'm going to put the pencil and the tortillon for the graphite away, and I'm going to move into just chalk, and I'm just going to work my way around the tile, highlighting those places. And then once I get done highlighting, then I'll take the tortillon out and work it into the fibers and maybe get some of that glare off. So that on the camera, I will say on the camera, the chalk gets a little bit glary. It doesn't look quite that glowy in real life, but I kind of like that highlight effect that has. Again, it doesn't look quite that striped as far as the white chalk goes. The stripes are definitely showing up, but the white chalk doesn't look quite so glowy. But I think I'm digging that. And here's what I'm going to do on the edge. I'm seeing something here that I think is kind of cool. I'm going to darken this and then have the tortillon like pull the graphite out a little bit. But I'm noticing that on this next edge, I went outside of my boundary just a little bit, and I actually think that looks kind of cool. So I'm going to highlight that with my pencil. And then use my tortillon to do a little smudging. So we can just complete the tile, make it look intentional and process, you know, like the process was mindful. And that feels good to me. So we started with our gratitude and appreciation. Then we moved into our corner dots and our border. Then we drew our string with our pencil. And then we did our tangling, which is striping this time, and our shading and highlighting with the chalk today. And next up is to initial and sign our tile. So I'm feeling like I like this as my upright for the tile. And so I'm going to put my chop, I think I'm going to put my chop actually in this little corner here. Sometimes I put it on the outside, sometimes I put it on the inside. My chop is an M. I cross my A's, my peaks of my M, and I dangle a little heart that's going to come out the other side of that border. And then I'm going to turn my tile over and sign my tile, date my tile, and I'm going to write the name of the tangle, because if you find tangles that you really like, it's nice to have the name on the back. So here we go. I'm going to write BU above the bijou. And I'd love to hear how this process went for you today, if you learned anything about yourself. And I really appreciate you joining me. So last step is to have gratitude and appreciation again. So if you are willing to show your tile, I would love to see it. You can email it to me or post it in the comments if this is on social media. I'm not sure if you can put pictures on YouTube or not. So please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.